Jack Rowan had never thought he would come back to this place. The scrapyard hung in orbit around a dead star, a graveyard of metal and memories. Twisted hulls of alien ships floated like forgotten ghosts, reflecting faint starlight. Most humans avoided places like this. Most aliens thought it was beneath them. But Jack had nowhere else to go, and curiosity had always been stronger than caution. He maneuvered his small shuttle through the debris field, careful to avoid sharp edges. The gravitation from the dead star was weak but unpredictable, tugging at his craft like a teasing hand. He was looking for something specific, or rather, he didn't know exactly what he wanted, only that it would be extraordinary. Jack had been a pilot once, a human ace in a fleet that humans were slowly leaving behind. After leaving the military, the thrill of command, speed, and danger had left a hollow inside him. Civilian life had been dull, repetitive, and frustrating. Trading cargo and running errands for other humans did not satisfy a man who had flown through alien combat zones and survived. Then he saw it. It was partially buried beneath the rusted skeletons of larger warships. The hull gleamed with a dull, alien silver that looked almost alive. Its shape was unfamiliar, elegant, and dangerous. Even from a distance, Jack could feel the ship was intelligent. Not machine intelligent, not AI simple, but something else. Something alive in ways humans rarely understood. Jack docked his shuttle and floated toward the hull in zero gravity, tethered only by a thin cable. He ran his gloved hand along the surface, marveling at the smooth, almost organic lines. It didn't feel like metal as humans knew it. It felt deliberate, purposeful. "Where did you come from?" he muttered. "And why are you here?" He didn't expect an answer. Yet the moment his hand brushed the access hatch, a soft hum vibrated through his gloves. The ship reacted. The lights along the hull flickered, then stabilized in a pattern Jack didn't recognize. A deep, calm voice echoed in his mind. "Human, why do you touch me?" Jack froze. Who?" he stammered. "I am not a who. I am the vessel. I am alive, and I do not obey humans." Jack stumbled backward, floating in zero gravity. His heart raced. This was not supposed to happen. Ships did not speak. Ships did not judge. And yet here it was talking, directly to him. I don't want to hurt you," Jack said, unsure whether the voice would care. "I just want to pilot you." "Pilot," the word carried amusement. "Humans are fragile, you will fail. I will not obey your commands, you are not ready." Jack gritted his teeth. "I've flown better ships than any alien vessel you've probably ever heard of. I can handle you." "You underestimate yourself," the ship replied. "And you overestimate your species." Jack swallowed hard. His pulse quickened, not with fear but with excitement. This was unlike anything he had ever faced. He had survived enemy fleets, plasma storms, and zero-gravity battles. Now a ship that thought itself alive was daring him to try. For hours, Jack tried. He ran through the control interfaces, each more alien than the last. The screens lit up with symbols that shifted constantly. Joysticks moved on their own. Levers resisted his touch. Every command he tried was met with calm refusal. "You do not understand my systems," the ship said. "You are clumsy. You are predictable. Humans are primitive." Jack's jaw tightened. He refused to quit. If he could learn the ship's language, its patterns, he could unlock it. Humans had a way of succeeding where others failed, not because of strength, but because of adaptability and cunning. He spent days in orbit, returning each time with supplies, tools, and determination. He read alien logs salvaged from other ships, studied the alien languages, and experimented with different control schemes. Every failure taught him something. Every mockery from the ship challenged him further. "You are persistent," the ship finally said after 3 days. "I will allow limited cooperation, but only as a test." Jack grinned. "Limited cooperation is better than nothing. I'll take it." For the first time, the ship responded to his input. Small systems hummed to life. The lights dimmed and glowed along pathways Jack could barely trace. He felt the vessel breathe around him as if it were alive. And in that moment, he realized this was not just a machine, it was a partner, one that respected skill, intelligence, and courage. But the ship was still full of secrets. Every time Jack thought he understood it, it would refuse a command, reroute energy, or offer cryptic messages. "I have traveled for centuries," it said at one point, its voice calm but proud. "I have seen civilizations rise and fall. You human, you intrigue me, but intrigue is not mastery," Jack laughed. "I didn't expect mastery on the first try, you'll see. Humans aren't just strong, they're clever." The scrapyard orbit was quiet except for the distant hum of dead stars and drifting metal. Jack's shuttle was gone now. He lived aboard the alien ship. Supplies were limited, but he didn't care. Time lost meaning when every moment was spent learning, understanding, and slowly earning the ship's respect. One evening, as Jack floated near the bridge, the ship's voice spoke in a new tone, less mocking, more curious. "There is a human trait I find fascinating: persistence. It defies logic, it defies reason. It may yet be your greatest weapon." Jack's grin widened. "Finally, you start to understand humans. Welcome to the team." The ship responded with a soft vibration through the hull, almost like a purr. It still refused direct orders, still teased and tested him, but now there was acknowledgement. It was beginning to recognize him as something different than the average human. But Jack knew the galaxy would not wait. If aliens discovered he had reactivated a ship of unknown power, there would be consequences. Most would see humans as unworthy of such technology. Many would try to take it by force. Jack's mind raced with possibilities. If he could master the ship, humans could finally claim a place among the stars, not as servants or spectators, but as equals. And he intended to prove it. For now, the ship floated silently, ancient and imperious, as Jack began the slow, painstaking process of learning its language, understanding its systems, and preparing for the universe that was about to take notice. The scrapyard was quiet. The dead star cast its dim glow. But Jack felt alive, more alive than he had in years. For the first time since leaving the fleet, he felt powerful, clever, and unstoppable. And somewhere deep in the hull, the ship was already watching him, testing him, waiting to see what a human could truly accomplish. Jack Rowan smiled. "Let's see what you've got." And with that, the partnership began, awkward, tense, and full of defiance, but unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Jack Rowan floated in the bridge of the alien ship, staring at the controls that refused to obey him. But unlike the first few days, he no longer felt frustration. He felt curiosity. Every lever that resisted his touch, every holographic display that changed shape the moment he focused on it, was a puzzle waiting to be solved. The ship had started to cooperate, but only in its own way. It would respond to suggestions, sometimes only partially, and often with commentary that made Jack laugh, groan, or grit his teeth. "Human stubbornness is amusing," it said one morning, its voice echoing softly in the empty bridge. "But amusing alone is not enough to control me." "I didn't expect it to be easy," Jack replied. "You're alien, I'm human. That's the challenge." The ship hummed, a low vibration that Jack had begun to interpret as agreement. He had started to notice patterns in its reactions. It respected logic, creativity, and quick thinking. It mocked impatience and weakness. Jack decided it was time to test it further. He initiated a series of maneuvers he had used in fleet training, dodging imaginary obstacles and improvising paths through the asteroid fields surrounding the scrapyard. Each time the ship responded with subtle shifts, speed changes, minor course corrections, but it still refused to follow standard human commands. "You are improving," it said after a particularly daring maneuver. "Perhaps humans are not entirely predictable." "That is interesting." Jack allowed himself a grin. "You're learning too. I think we can work together." But the universe had its own plans. Word of Jack's acquisition had spread. Alien merchants, scavengers, and intelligence gatherers had long suspected that a human would attempt something bold. And now, reports reached higher authorities. A human was attempting to reactivate a legendary alien warship of unknown power. Jack was unaware at first. His focus was entirely on understanding the ship, learning its controls, and deciphering the ancient alien systems. Then it happened. A sharp vibration shook the bridge. External sensors lit up with multiple contacts approaching rapidly. "Human," the ship said, its tone no longer mocking but cautious. "You have attracted attention. Alien interceptors are approaching. They assume your presence is a threat," Jack swore. "How many?" "Too many to engage in direct combat," the ship replied. "You are outmatched." "But there is potential in using human methods." Jack's mind raced. He had no intention of running, but engaging directly would be suicide. Yet the thought of escaping using the ship's own systems, learning its quirks on the fly, excited him. Humans were known for improvisation. Aliens often underestimated it. The first wave of alien ships came into view. Sleek, predatory vessels bristling with weapons, they closed in with confidence. Jack realized that the humans in the nearby colonies would have panicked and fled, but he didn't. He had something they didn't: a ship that thought, a ship that challenged him and now depended on him to survive. He initiated a series of evasive maneuvers. The alien ships opened fire. Energy beams sliced through space, striking the debris around him. The scrapyard became a chaotic maze of explosions and spinning wrecks. Jack relied on instinct, human reflex, and creative thinking to weave through the deadly obstacles. "You are reckless," the ship said, its voice calm but tinged with surprise. "But your logic is unconventional. I see advantage." Jack laughed through the tension. "Reckless or clever, you decide." The alien ships pursued relentlessly, assuming they could outmaneuver a human in a ship they had never seen operational. They didn't anticipate human adaptability, the ability to change plans mid-action, to improvise, to find solutions where none seemed to exist. Jack led them on a chase through the asteroid field surrounding the scrapyard. Using the terrain to his advantage, he dodged missiles and laser fire in ways the aliens had not calculated. Each move was risky, but his understanding of the ship was growing. He was learning its rhythms, its reactions, and its limits. "You are unpredictable," the ship admitted almost grudgingly. "Human methods may have merit," Jack smirked. "See, you're starting to respect us." By the end of the engagement, he had led the alien interceptors into a trap. A cluster of large, derelict ships, hulks that had been abandoned for centuries, blocked the path forward. Aliens collided with debris or were forced to retreat to avoid damage. Jack's unconventional thinking, combined with the ship's reluctant cooperation, had turned an impossible battle into a narrow escape. The bridge went silent. Jack exhaled, letting the tension drain from his body. "You survived," the ship said finally. "And you used logic I did not anticipate. Human creativity is impressive." Jack shook his head. "I wouldn't call it creativity, it's just thinking on your feet, something humans do well." "You are persistent," the ship replied. "I may begin to understand." But persistence alone does not grant mastery. Jack floated to the observation deck, staring out at the stars. He realized that humans were often underestimated across the galaxy. Other species relied on brute strength, advanced tech, or rigid strategies. Humans relied on something harder to measure: adaptability, ingenuity, and the courage to act when others hesitated. And now, he had proof, not just in surviving the attack, but in using the alien ship itself as a tool of unpredictability. He had begun to bridge the gap between human intuition and alien engineering. But the victory was temporary. He knew that larger threats would come: armadas, fleets, or even mercenaries sent by alien governments to investigate the ship's reactivation. Jack had no illusions. His skill alone would not be enough. He needed to deepen his connection with the ship to earn its full cooperation, even if it refused to obey directly. Over the next few days, Jack worked tirelessly. He explored more of the ship's systems, navigation that seemed alive, weapon arrays that refused conventional targeting, and communications that allowed him to intercept alien networks in ways no human was supposed to understand. The ship began to respond more willingly but always on its terms. It tested him constantly. Sometimes it would reroute power mid-operation, forcing Jack to improvise. Sometimes it would refuse commands entirely, requiring him to convince it logically why the action was necessary. "You are improving," the ship said one day almost approvingly. "Perhaps humans are capable of more than I assumed." Jack's grin widened. "I told you. Don't underestimate humans." But not all was simple. Alien authorities had begun to notice disturbances near the dead star. Rumors of a human controlling a legendary vessel spread quickly. Interceptors, scouts, and intelligence agents began to appear in nearby sectors. Jack knew he could not hide for long, yet he also knew he had an advantage: unpredictability. Aliens were trained to anticipate logic, routine, and protocol. Jack had none of those restraints. Every move he made was unexpected, every choice fluid. And now, with the ship reluctantly cooperating, he had a tool no alien could predict. One night, as he floated near the ship's core, the vessel spoke quietly. "There is potential. You are human. You persist. You adapt. You survive. Perhaps you are worthy of me." Jack smiled softly. "I don't need to be worthy. I just need to prove humans can do what aliens think is impossible." The ship hummed, a deep vibration that Jack had come to interpret as thoughtful contemplation. It did not obey fully, but it had begun to trust him in small ways, enough to follow suggestions and allow limited commands. It was a start, but Jack knew the real test was still ahead. He could evade small fleets, manipulate derelict ships, and survive in the scrapyard, but eventually a larger force would come, a force too strong for cunning alone. He needed to understand the ship fully. He needed to form a true partnership, one that relied not on commands but on mutual respect and intelligence. And he intended to do just that. The galaxy was watching, whether it knew it or not. Aliens assumed humans were weak, limited, and predictable. Jack and the ship were about to prove them wrong. As he floated in the bridge, watching stars drift past, Jack spoke softly. "Let's see what they think humans are capable of." The ship's response was almost playful. "I will consider it. But only if you survive the next encounter." Jack laughed, feeling the thrill he had been missing since leaving the fleet. The universe was no longer a place to hide. It was a place to challenge, to defy expectations, and to show that humans, ordinary, unpredictable humans, could be extraordinary. And somewhere in the shadows of the dead star, the first whispers of a legend began to spread. A human, daring enough to command an alien warship. A human clever enough to outthink alien fleets. A human unstoppable because he refused to follow the rules. Jack Rowan tightened his grip on the console. "Then let's make sure they remember us." The ship hummed, not in mockery but in anticipation. The partnership had begun. And the galaxy would never look at humans the same way again. The galaxy had noticed. Jack Rowan knew it the moment the first warships arrived. Not scouts, not small interceptors this time. Full-scale combat vessels, sleek and deadly, with alien insignias that spoke of authority and power. They came in formation, moving like predators, confident that a single human could be eliminated before causing trouble. Jack floated in the bridge of the alien ship, his hands resting lightly on the alien controls. He did not panic. He had survived the scrapyard, dodged interceptors, and even outsmarted a small fleet using ingenuity. But this was different. This was a force that could crush him in minutes if he made a single mistake. The ship hummed around him, alive, aware, and cautious. "They have come for you," it said in its calm, deliberate voice. "You are not ready. Their firepower exceeds your capacity. They will destroy you. Jack's eyes narrowed. Maybe, but humans don't fight like everyone else. We improvise, we adapt, and sometimes we survive where no one expects us to. The ship vibrated, almost purring with a sense of anticipation. You speak boldly. Boldness is intriguing, but do not mistake intrigue for skill, Jack smirked. We'll see. The alien armada closed in. Their energy weapons glowed red as they targeted the human vessel. Other alien ships in the area tried to flee, but Jack had already anticipated that. His plan relied not on strength but on unpredictability. He had learned the ship's quirks, its habits, and its reactions, and now he would use them to turn the tide. He initiated evasive maneuvers. The ship responded, not obediently, but in a way that suggested understanding. Its massive engines glowed, adjusting thrust in ways no human or alien had likely calculated before. Human logic is unconventional, the ship admitted, but effective. Jack grinned. Glad you notice. The alien vessels fired in coordinated patterns, expecting him to follow predictable moves. Jack instead led them on a chase through the dense asteroid belt surrounding the sector. He weaved between massive rocks, using the ship's advanced sensors to anticipate collisions and create traps. The aliens were confident. They had never seen a human take command of such a vessel. Their tactics relied on calculation, analysis, and overwhelming firepower. Jack relied on something they could never fully anticipate: creativity under pressure. He triggered a sudden series of holographic decoys, alien technology that the ship allowed him to manipulate. Alien sensors misread his position. Missiles detonated harmlessly against simulated targets while he slipped through narrow gaps between asteroids. You are resourceful, the ship admitted. Resourcefulness is acceptable, Jack laughed. Acceptable, I'd call it essential. But the fight was far from over. The alien armada adapted, splitting into smaller groups, trying to corner him from multiple directions. Jack realized he needed more than clever maneuvers. He needed strategy, improvisation, and the ship's cooperation. He studied the fleet's movements. They relied on patterns, formations, and predictable adjustments. Jack made a decision. He would use the dead scrapyard ships around the star as weapons, turning the environment into an advantage. He guided the alien ship to the center of the field. Ancient vessels hung in orbit, rusted and immobile. Jack activated the ship's tractor beams, moving the wreckage into calculated positions. The alien ships pursued him, unaware of the traps forming around them. As the first alien vessel attempted a direct strike, it collided with a massive derelict, tearing a hole through its hull. The explosion sent debris spinning toward the others. Panic rippled through the alien fleet. Jack smiled, knowing the humans' improvisation had worked. You are clever, the ship admitted quietly. Perhaps humans are underestimated. Jack tightened his grip on the controls. Underestimate us once, shame on you. Underestimate us twice and you're in trouble. The battle intensified. Alien beams struck the derelict ships, trying to clear the path, but Jack anticipated their moves. He guided the ship with precision, dodging fire, exploiting blind spots, and leading the armada into a choke point where their numbers worked against them. And then came the moment of truth. One massive alien flagship moved to flank him, its shields glowing like molten metal. Jack had only one option, a high-risk maneuver that no alien pilot would dare attempt. He launched the ship directly toward the sun's gravitational pull, weaving through debris and using the star's light to blind enemy sensors. The flagship followed. The gravitational field tugged violently at both ships. Jack felt the ship strain beneath him. It groaned, shifted, and almost rejected his commands. But Jack remained calm, focusing on timing, angles, and trust in the partnership they had begun to form. You are reckless, the ship said, almost in awe, but your risk has merit. With a sudden adjustment, Jack used the gravitational pull to sling the alien flagship into a cluster of derelict vessels. The massive ship collided, exploding in a brilliant display of fire and metal. The remaining vessels, shocked and disorganized, began to retreat. Jack let out a deep breath. The immediate threat had passed. He floated in the bridge, staring at the stars. His heart pounded, not from fear, but from exhilaration. Humans had survived, outsmarted, and outmaneuvered a force far superior in strength and technology. The ship hummed around him. You are unpredictable. You survive where no others would. Perhaps humans deserve consideration. Jack smiled. Consideration is fine, but respect would be better. You are insistent, the ship replied. Perhaps there is merit in your species. Perhaps they are not as fragile as I assumed. Jack nodded, understanding the unspoken words. This was more than survival. The ship was beginning to see humans as worthy partners, not weak creatures. Its defiance was slowly turning into respect, and its intelligence was learning to value human creativity, courage, and persistence. But Jack knew the victory was temporary. Larger fleets, more powerful enemies, and curious alien governments would come. He had survived using ingenuity and audacity, but the next challenge would test him not just as a pilot, but as a human capable of commanding a vessel that thought itself alive. Over the next few days, Jack continued to experiment with the ship's systems. He learned to manipulate its advanced navigation, trigger energy reserves, and use its weapons in ways no alien protocol had designed. The ship began to respond more readily, though still cautiously, often offering advice in cryptic phrases. You are improving, it said. Perhaps humans can achieve more than I predicted, but full mastery will require courage, ingenuity, and moral judgment. Jack laughed softly. Courage and ingenuity, check. Moral judgment, well, we'll see how much that matters when survival is on the line. For the first time, the ship allowed Jack to access its full internal sensors. He discovered maps of star systems humans had never explored, knowledge of alien trade routes, and records of ancient conflicts. With each discovery, Jack realized the ship was a library of intelligence, far beyond human or alien understanding. And yet, it still tested him. Every time Jack tried to push boundaries, the ship resisted, forcing him to think, adapt, and prove that humans were capable of learning and respecting the vessel's power. You are not just persistent, the ship said one evening. You are clever, adaptable, and brave. You are human. Perhaps humans are worthy of trust, Jack grinned. We've got a long way to go, but I'll take what I can get. He floated to the observation deck, staring out at the galaxy. The stars stretched endlessly, filled with civilizations that underestimated humans at every turn. But Jack had a secret weapon, a ship that thought, learned, and respected him as a pilot, even if it refused to obey fully. The galaxy would not wait, and neither would Jack. He had survived impossible odds, outsmarted superior forces, and earned the attention of an alien vessel that had never considered humans worthy. He knew the next challenge would be greater, more dangerous, and perhaps deadly. But for the first time in years, Jack felt alive. Humans had been underestimated, yes, but underestimated humans were often the most dangerous opponents in the galaxy. The ship hummed, its tone almost approving. Perhaps humans are extraordinary, it said. Jack Rowan smiled, feeling the thrill of partnership, power, and potential. Now you're learning. Let's see how extraordinary we can be. And with that, the two of them, human and ship, prepared for the battles, challenges, and adventures that lay ahead. Jack Rowan had survived impossible odds before, but this was different. The galaxy was watching, whether he knew it or not. The alien armadas that had once dismissed humans as weak and fragile now remembered the human who had outsmarted fleets and survived where no one else could. And Jack was about to prove something even greater, not just survival, but dominance through ingenuity, courage, and sheer human spirit. The alien ship hummed beneath him, alive in ways Jack had grown to understand. Its systems were still temperamental, still unpredictable, but it had begun to trust him, not fully, but enough to act in partnership. The difference between partial cooperation and full trust was small, and Jack intended to close the gap. "Are you ready?" Jack asked, floating in the bridge. "I am intrigued," the ship replied, its voice calm yet expectant. "But intrigue alone does not guarantee success." Jack grinned. "Success is overrated. Let's aim for astonishment." The situation was dire. Alien factions, alarmed by the reports of a human controlling an ancient warship, had sent a combined fleet to eliminate him. The ships were massive, armed with energy weapons, shields, and technologies far superior to anything humans had fielded. Yet Jack was not afraid. He had learned something no alien had ever considered. Humans were unpredictable, flexible, and capable of extraordinary improvisation. The fleet descended on him in formation, their confidence evident. They expected an easy victory, a human doomed by arrogance and lack of power. They did not expect the ship to move like a living organism under the command of a clever human. Jack activated the ship's engines. Lights danced along the hull as the vessel shifted, anticipating maneuvers that no alien protocol could have predicted. He had studied the fleet's patterns, calculated their weaknesses, and identified their over-reliance on structured formations. "You are bold," the ship said, almost approvingly. "Boldness may have merit," Jack smirked. "Boldness, creativity, and stubbornness, that's human." The battle began. Alien beams sliced through space, but Jack weaved the ship with precision, dodging fire using paths that no alien pilot could anticipate. He used the ship's unique abilities to manipulate energy fields, creating temporary shields and decoys. Missiles detonated harmlessly against projected holograms, while Jack slipped past the real dangers. The alien fleet grew frustrated. Their coordinated attacks failed. Their predictions were wrong at every turn. The human pilot, a single man against an entire armada, defied their expectations at every moment. "You are resourceful," the ship said quietly. "Resourcefulness is admirable," Jack laughed softly. "Admirable enough to survive, at least." He led the fleet into a dense field of derelict ships and floating debris. Using the environment as a weapon, he caused collisions, triggered chain reactions, and forced alien vessels into traps. One massive cruiser collided with a derelict, its hull ruptured and energy systems overloaded. Explosions sent shards of metal spinning into the pursuing ships, scattering them in chaos. The alien commanders were stunned. How could a human control an alien vessel so effectively, using tricks no alien had ever conceived? Their pride turned to confusion, then fear. Jack had only begun. He activated the ship's advanced systems, ones that even aliens did not fully understand. He manipulated the vessel's engines, weapons, and sensors in harmony, creating a display of power and precision that seemed almost supernatural. Energy beams struck multiple targets at once, while decoys and holographic images misled the fleet at every turn. The alien ship spoke almost proudly. "You are clever, you survive where others fail. Perhaps humans are extraordinary," Jack nodded. "Extraordinary enough to teach the galaxy a lesson." With one final maneuver, he used the gravitational pull of a nearby star to sling the ship into a position that forced the alien fleet into a tight formation. The derelict ships he had repositioned earlier acted as barriers. Energy blasts reflected unpredictably, causing panic and chaos among the enemy vessels. The alien fleet was forced to retreat, beaten not by superior firepower, but by human ingenuity and daring. Jack floated in the bridge, heart pounding, as silence returned. The stars stretched before him, quiet and vast. The alien ship hummed beneath him, alive, acknowledging the victory in its own enigmatic way. "You have proven something," it said. "Humans may be more than I assumed." Your species is capable of ingenuity, courage, and adaptability beyond expectation. Jack allowed himself a small smile. Finally, you understand humans. But the battle was more than a victory for one human pilot. Across alien space, the story of the human who had survived fleets, outmaneuvered alien tactics, and mastered a legendary vessel spread like wildfire. Traders, spies, and even politicians whispered about the human who defied all expectations. For the first time, humans were no longer underestimated. They were no longer seen as fragile or predictable. They were clever, adaptable, and capable of extraordinary feats. And Jack, an ex-pilot with nothing to lose, had become the symbol of human ingenuity. The alien ship, now calmer, allowed Jack greater access to its systems. It was no longer just testing him. It was partnering with him. They communicated in shared understanding, the ship providing knowledge and capability while Jack provided intuition, courage, and creativity. Together, they were more than either could be alone. Jack explored the ship's internal networks, uncovering maps of uncharted systems, ancient alien technology, and strategic insights that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. He realized the potential of humans not just as pilots or warriors, but as thinkers, innovators, and leaders. Humans are unpredictable, the ship said one evening, its voice calm and almost reflective. Unpredictability may be their greatest strength. And you have shown it in action. Jack smiled, looking out at the stars. We're full of surprises. You'll get used to it. The human colonies, hearing the tales of Jack's exploits, began to change their perception. No longer were humans viewed as weak, expendable, or slow. They were clever, resilient, and capable of commanding respect across the galaxy. Stories of Jack and the alien ship inspired others to push boundaries, take risks, and prove themselves. In alien space, the news caused shockwaves. Commanders who had assumed human inferiority now reconsidered strategy. Diplomats who had dismissed human intelligence began to treat humans cautiously. And scholars who had underestimated human potential started to study them, not as subjects, but as equals. Jack knew the journey was not over. Other challenges would come, other fleets would pursue him, and other systems would test human limits. But for now, he had achieved something extraordinary. Humans had earned recognition, respect, and a reputation that no alien could ignore. The ship, once defiant and unyielding, now accepted his guidance in ways that suggested respect, even partnership. It still retained its personality, its intelligence, its independence, but it recognized Jack as a worthy human, capable of command, decision, and ingenuity. You have earned my cooperation, the ship said softly, almost like a promise. Together, we may achieve what no other combination of species could. Jack floated in the bridge, letting the words sink in. He had not just survived. He had changed the way the galaxy saw humans. And he had done it with courage, wit, and relentless determination. He grinned. Then let's see how far we can go. Let's explore, challenge, and make sure the galaxy remembers what humans are capable of. The ship hummed in agreement, alive and aware, a perfect blend of alien technology and human ingenuity. As Jack set a course for uncharted space, he felt a sense of freedom, excitement, and destiny. The galaxy had underestimated humans for too long, and now it would pay attention. Humans were clever, resilient, and unpredictable, and Jack Rowan, pilot, strategist, and pioneer, would lead the way. Somewhere in the distance, new stars awaited, new challenges loomed, and new adventures beckoned. And humans, once underestimated, would face them not as weak observers, but as leaders, innovators, and legends. The universe had changed in a single orbit around a dead star, because one human refused to accept limits, and one ancient ship was willing to learn what humans were capable of. Jack Rowan floated in the bridge, smiling. "Let's see how extraordinary we really are," he whispered. And the ship vibrated in quiet agreement. Together, human and vessel, they were unstoppable.